All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of the podcast, where we are going to be discussing how to start a business. What does it look like to start a business? When are you ready to start a business? What kind of business? I don't know. Lots of just business talk. Today we are drinking our espresso blend, which is a medium roast made as a pour over, which I should definitely use a clay pour over, but you know, whatever. We're going to do this for today. I have a Matthew Kelly mug that came out of a wood fire number 1. No, yeah, came out of his first wood fire. I think I bought this online. What do you got?
Got a Rob Dugall, I believe that's the name, soda-fired mug I got when I was in Wyoming. Pretty wild soda fire in there.
So then I will pour Kai's coffee. So this is actually going to be really similar to the one we drank in the last one, which is the house blend. It's instead of having Honduras, it's just Brazilian and Colombian to a medium roast again. Okay. So I was talking to John, the roaster, today, telling him that I've been drinking the house blend instead of I used to always drink the Sumatra dark roast. I don't know why, but as a coffee roaster, his kind of goal is to get people to be drinking lighter roasts, because darker roasts all tend to burn out the flavor, and they all tend to kind of taste similar, which he blames the Starbucks for doing that. But
so when you say Colombian, Honduras, that just means they're grown in those countries?
Yep, that means the green beans are sourced in those countries. Okay. So different countries have different climates and elevations, and those all make differences for how the coffee tastes.
Sure. Okay.
And then you blend them together. Most coffee is going to be blends of things, although there are single origin as well. Like the Sumatra dark roast is from one country. Or if you do an Ethiopian single origin. So kind of like all whiskeys and wines, you can get blends, or you can get single.
Does that have to do with a lot of the soil too? Where the beans are grown out of, everything, climate?
Everything, all the variables. So today, I'm working on getting more balls of clay ready to throw. So I've thrown about 100 in the last couple days. Kai's working on putting handles and logos on. So that's what he's working on right now. So we got these Southwest Transit logos that we're putting on the mugs. So we got a good task today for doing a podcast.
Yeah. So I guess we could start asking where your businesses started.
Yeah.
Probably start with Mocha.
Yeah.
How that kind of started, how you've grown it, and then move to the pottery stuff.
Yeah. So I want these podcasts to be as informational as possible, right? So if you're out there and you're you have a job, but you kind of want to start a business, how can we be helpful to people for when is the right time to start a business? First, we got to drink a little coffee. You got to taste the coffee and see how it tastes. But yeah, I've always kind of been a little entrepreneurial. When I was younger, living as a second grader in my parents' neighborhood, I started a little bakery with my buddy Zach, and we would bake Kremmelkuchen, which is a German coffee cake that my grandma had a recipe for. We'd bake it, go around to the neighbors and sell it to them. And that was kind of, my dad's always been a proponent for being an entrepreneur. So that was always kind of in my DNA, I guess. And then, I had a lawn mowing business when I was in high school. Then went to school. I didn't really have anything else I wanted to major in. I just majored in business just as process of elimination. Wasn't going to be a doctor, wasn't going to be a corporate. Well, I guess definitely could have been a corporate person, but
covered your bases by going to business.
Yes. Kind of. Yes. And I feel obviously anybody, your brother went to school to be an electrician, right? But obviously, makes a lot of sense if you're an electrician to also own your own business, you know?
Right.
So business goes super well with anything. If you're passionate about whatever it is, ceramics or painting or art or even social media, you can create a business around it. So it feels like.
Yeah, it's not just all numbers for the business. It's learning interactions between people, selling a product, everything. It's not just strictly making money. There's a
Oh,
lot.
for sure.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, that's like small business owners they're everything.
Right.
If you have a couple employees, like you're an HR department and you're marketing and you're, so I feel like, yeah, being an entrepreneur is not just, and obviously it just depends on the size, right? Like we're just getting to the point at Mocha Monkey now where we have 80 employees-ish, and then we have a manager for each store, and then I have like my coffee roaster. And so, as you get bigger, then you can like kind of have specialized employees where at the beginning, like it's kind of just you're doing the whole thing. So
Right.
yeah, it's like this podcast is just a massive topic. Obviously, we're taking on like how to start a business and how to run a business. And there's just 1,000 ways to learn, but
Right.
I'll try and be as informational as possible.
Yeah, I think just giving the backstory of how you
Yeah.
obtained Mocha, just you don't have to go too in depth, but just the general idea of why you did it, how you did it, and how it's running now, and how you scaled it.
Yeah.
Everything.
So, right. So I was this business management major watching this coffee shop, and I had kind of gotten into pottery. So it was like combining these things. So it started for me with like a passion and an excitement. And that's, for me, it's always been, the things that I get excited about are the things that get done really well. So it started with that. I was passionate about it. I was excited about it. Didn't really have any money. But I had time and I had energy. So basically I, got a job at Mocha Monkey, and then they told me they were going to sell this coffee shop. And I went up to them and I was like, hey, I don't know if this would actually work, but I would be interested in maybe buying the business from you. So shout out to Pam and Mark. They kind of took a big chance on me because it was mostly seller financed, right? When you're 20, 21, just out of college, you don't have any assets, you don't have any finances. So you kind of just had to take a leap of faith, and it took somebody else taking a leap of faith on me too.
Because otherwise the alternative would be you taking out a giant loan from a bank at a higher interest rate, which was more of a risk for you.
Well, and the banks wouldn't even give me a loan.
Right.
Like I went to like 5 different banks because, when you buy from a seller, if they're going to finance the whole thing, that's great, but it's pretty risky for them because if you default on the loan, then they just get the business back, which they're selling it, so they don't want it.
Right.
So they wanted something, so I did need to raise some money outside of, my $4,000 I had in the bank or whatever from nannying 2 kids. So I did get a loan eventually after I went to like 5 different banks. I eventually went to one bank, and it was kind of a younger guy like me who I have since had many business relationships with, which I'll talk about that. But he said, yeah, I think we can give you a little loan. So I took out a loan for about 1/3 of the whole price, and then they seller financed about 2/3. And I had about 1% of the money, whatever.
Right.
So I put all that into it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I've always been, is just like hop in all in if I'm excited about something. So that's what I did with that. So took over that business, had no idea what I was doing. We had like 20 employees. That first year, every fall, we kind of lose a lot of employees because they go to college or they go whatever, you just transition around like the school year. So I was totally not ready that first year. We lost like half the staff, and I was like a wake up call, and ever since then, every year, all summer long, we prepare now for that September time where we lose all the employees. A lot of things like that happen in the first couple years where it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but somebody's got to figure it out, and that's like half of what being an entrepreneur comes down to is
The growing pains or learning the whole everything.
well, just realizing that like someone's got to figure it out, and it's going to be me. So
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of what separates the successful from the people that it fizzles out. A lot of businesses fail, and it's probably comes down to just not being able to like sit down and figure things out. It's kind of just, well, we have an issue and I can't figure it out, so what am I going to do?
Right.
Which obviously that's a generalization, but cheers, we just picked up coffee at the same time.
Yeah, a lot more bitter.
A little bit more bitter.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's only that one less roast in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way that you brew it also makes a big difference too. Like the one that I brought yesterday was from the coffee shop. So we brewed that through our brewer with nice reverse osmosis filtered water. And it was a specific grind that we have nailed down there. Today, I was kind of making up the ratios and like the water is from our well. So there's like so many variables.
Yeah.
It's like so similar to like clay and pottery, right?
Right.
You know?
So I guess off of that, how did you get into coffee that much that you wanted to do the coffee shop? Like, were you really into coffee before you bought it, or were you
No,
just like,
not
that'd be
really.
cool?
I mean, I've always liked coffee, but it's never been something that I've been like super passionate about. I was more passionate about the business side of things and the creative side of Mocha Monkey and the pottery side of Mocha Monkey, you know?
So you never had it in your head, you're like, oh, owning a coffee shop would be awesome.
No. It was more like,
The opportunity was there, so you took it.
yeah. And it was a way that it combined a lot of things that I wanted to do. Owning my own business,
Right.
you know, like having the pottery be a part of it because it wasn't, I didn't want the pottery to be 100% of it. So, yeah, I mean, since then, I took over and I was still in school, so I had like a semester left of college, finished that up, and then went, a few years later, the same banker that gave me that loan after everybody else said, no, we won't give you a loan because you have no experience and you're young and you have no money. And it was 2011, so it was kind of right on the back end of like the whole banking or financial crisis.
Right.
Then this guy that gave me the loan, he came to me and said, hey, we have an idea for a bank that we want to put in Waconia, which is where my original store was, and we want to incorporate a coffee shop into it. Like, would you be interested in going in with us? And at first I was kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like this little small thing I got going on. Like, I don't know if I want to grow. But eventually, like, we kind of made it work, and it ended up being very, very, it was just, I don't want to say super successful, but it was a game changer for our business, right? We opened a second store, it had a drive-through, and it was at the same time that another big chain, Caribou, was opening in Waconia. And so I don't know what would have happened if we wouldn't open that one, but it certainly elevated our business to a new level. Then we had a chance to open another store. There was another coffee shop called, well, I won't say what the name was. It doesn't matter. Americano was what it was called. And it was up in St. Bonnie, which is maybe 10 minutes away. And that one, it was an existing shop, right? And they were kind of losing money every month. And so I said, yeah, we could go in, turn it into a Mocha Monkey, make it our third store. We put a drive-through in there. There wasn't a drive-through. So immediately we kind of, doubled or tripled the sales right off the bat in St. Bonnie, just from putting a drive-through in, calling it Mocha Monkey. But it still was not like as busy as our other stores. And with, coffee shops, the break-even number is pretty high. You got to sell like $1,000 of drinks and coffee every single day to like break even, which, that's just a lot, You think of a $5 coffee, which there's not anymore $5 coffees, but that's 200 drinks a day.
Right.
So that's kind of a lot, is what you got to do just to break even. If you want to make any money, you got to be making like 300 drinks a day, 400. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not the easiest business to be in, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the margins between pottery and coffee, how crazy different they are.
Right, yeah. I mean, we sell a mug for $35. That costs us like $1 in materials. Whereas you sell like a mocha for $6 and you're paying like $2.50 in materials,
Right.
Or, and you're at the end of the day, like it's overhead and it's employees and that ends up, but at the end of the day, like I hope you make 10% of what comes in.
Right.
And that's changed a lot, over the years. It was probably as high as 15% and as low as like 5%. And so I'm trying to like gauge that middle ground because we're in this whole new world now of where wages are and after COVID and where all the cost of everything is. But anyway, so just to finish up my story really quick of Mocha Monkey. So then I really went all in on the pottery after that. So that's when I started the YouTube channel, grew that to kind of what it was, started selling pots online, hired somebody in here, built a studio, got this to like a more of a stable, real business where we can afford to have an employee and we can, just make a consistent amount. We have our events that we do and we have the sales, the restocks that go up. There's pots for sale online, by the way. And then the same bank that we went into that really, changed our business at one point asked us if we wanted to go into another area, Carver, Minnesota, which is what I've been working on the last 6 months to a year. So then we opened that one, which was very expensive to start. So risky. I mean, the more expensive it is to start, the riskier it is.
Right.
But I
'Cause
felt
it was a brand new build compared to the other ones were
Yes.
in existing
Right.
spots or businesses already. Where this is
correct. Yes. So yeah, it was a brand new building, beautiful building, and we did a ton of work ourselves on the inside. Kai was painting walls and building shelves, and we built a ceiling. Kai helped me build a ceiling. Basically, did it himself, where we wrapped burlap around. Anyway, so we're super proud of how the Carver store turned out. We have a great, phenomenal staff there. Hired a ton of really good people.
just a different way it came to be. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just way more overhead and
Right.
yeah.
But anyway, so that's where we're at right now. And now I'm trying to balance this. Like we have this pottery business in here that we got 200 mugs ordered right now, which is kind of like cool and good. It's not the most fun thing in the world. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we kind of talked about in the first episode where it's like,
I have to go get more clay. I have to go run to the basement and get more clay. So give me like 2 seconds. All right, I got clay.
yeah, we talked about it last episode where I think that's really where it helps that I also run a business as well.
Yeah.
Realizing where you come from, because I put everything in my perspective where if I owned this business, yeah, of course we're going to take these large orders. Like
Right.
That's what's going to help pay for stuff. It's like a good stream of income. Like it's not the most fun thing in the world, obviously, doing 50. Like yesterday it took me probably 6-7 hours like to do 50 of them. So obviously it's not fun. I just think it's, like I said, like a necessary kind of thing to do as a business. Like, got to pick up these things to keep growing, keep going, I guess.
Well, and I think about it too. Like this is they're going to give these away to all their employees.
Right.
So that's 200 people that are going to now get this like cool mug in their hand that was handmade.
For sure.
Says Jonthepotter on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they like go online and say like, what's this Jonthepotter guy?
Yeah.
Maybe they
for
find
sure.
Mocha Monkey. They come in. So
Yeah,
that's,
great marketing for sure. It's just a little monotonous, but
For sure.
I mean, that's with everything. Sure, every field there's that monotony to it. Where
Right.
You kind of have to do it.
Well, and it's so interesting to think about, there's so many different types as we've had, I've probably had hundreds of employees throughout the years that work at Mocha Monkey. And like people are so different in the way they like to work, like some people just eat it up to sit for 5 hours and just like do something that's really, I wouldn't say brainless, but like you can just kind of like zone out. It's very zen. And you can talk, I mean, I like that to a certain extent.
Right.
Like I like sitting on the wheel and throwing for like 3 hours when I get the chance, but like would I like doing that every day for
Right.
6, 7, 8 hours? No, I think I would want to absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like mixing it up. Like that's like
But my point is that I don't think everybody's the same way.
right.
Like I don't think
Right.
like
Yeah.
I think you and I both like to have variety and like
Yeah.
to be doing multiple different things, but I don't think everybody's that way. Like there are some people that they don't want to like be doing one thing one day and then something else the next day and have like
Right.
20. There's probably people that would look at our process in here and be like, that is so inefficient that they both do all the things. They're
Right.
both glazing. They're both, I mean,
Right.
like obviously you have things that you do and I have things that I do.
Well, I mean, we talk about those more production places where they have throwers that just throw every single day, all day, for
Right.
8 hours a day.
Which obviously those people must kind of like that, right? Because
Yeah,
they do it.
you have to.
Right.
Or, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be an easy job at all to get through, but people do it, so.
Right. So I think, yeah, I mean, finding, and that's one thing I've learned about having employees over the years is like trying to find where people fit in the best so that, because it's only sustainable if people are enjoying their jobs, if they feel like there's somewhere that they're going.
Right.
And everybody's different. Like everybody doesn't think the same way that I think, which thank goodness, right? The world would be a
Right.
disorganized, chaotic mess if everyone was thought like me. And the other way around too. I mean, there's people that are super disciplined and organized, and
Yeah.
like thank goodness they're not all like that either, or there'd be no flexibility and creativity and stuff like that.
Everything would be ones and twos, nothing different.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like this beautiful mix. And that's, I feel like, when coming back to like starting a business and owning a business, I mean, that's what it is. It's like this beautiful mix of different people and different skills coming together to do something bigger than what they could accomplish on their own.
Right.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good little like
Clip.
20-second clip.
So do you want to maybe touch on a little more the pottery business, how that came to be, how you've scaled it a little more in depth, or?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think, what was so appealing to me about the pottery business, I was in this coffee shop business that had 50 employees with 3 locations, and I felt a little stuck because the St. Bonnie store hadn't quite taken off like the other ones did. And so I was kind of like looking for like the opposite type of business of Mocha Monkey, right? 0 employees.
A little change of scenery.
High margin. Yeah, like I didn't have to, there's trade-offs, right? Like the pottery business, if I all of a sudden just take 2 months off, well, now it's different because you're in here, but like at some point, if I don't work in the pottery business, then nothing happens, right? Whereas if I don't show up in the coffee shop for a month or 2, like they'd probably survive. It wouldn't be that big a deal. We probably wouldn't grow much, but like we could survive, and I did. I went a few years where I wasn't really involved in the coffee shop that much. So then anyway, that's what I was looking for, is like high margin business, revolves around me, no employees, see what I can do there. So that's where the YouTube channel came in. I saw this like opportunity on YouTube where there weren't that many potters that were creating high quality content about pottery. Like there were a few, but way less than other platforms. Like Facebook had a lot and Instagram had a lot. And I think the reason is because YouTube is hard, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true even still now. Like there's not as many on YouTube as there is on other social media platforms.
Like that's why Florian just blew up, is because his content is unparalleled, right? It's so good.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like a barrier to entry. It's super hard to do, like compared to just whipping out your phone and making a post quick.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into the YouTube.
So I decided like I'm gonna go all in on the YouTube thing. I'm gonna make really high quality videos. I'm gonna be really consistent. So that first year I spent, tons of time, 2 videos a week, every week. And just, the first 50 videos were not very good. Just like our podcast last time probably wasn't very good. Even this one's probably not very good. But hopefully it's a little better than the last one.
That's right.
And then, so I got pretty good at editing and filmmaking, and I got into that, talking about excitement and passion, and that really has propelled me into the next thing. Speaking of coffee and roasting and all that stuff. But, what was your question again?
Just how you got into it and how your business model works now.
Oh, yeah.
How it's currently running. You kind of did the background a little bit now. So
anyway, I was looking for this business opposite of the coffee shops, and it kind of took off, right? The YouTube channel started taking off. I didn't sell anything online for the first year. So basically I made 100 videos, had over 10,000 subscribers before I ever sold a pot online. And then it was like, okay, now we can start selling online. Put up, 40 pots, they all sold really quick, and then I'd put up 80 pots the next time, and they'd all sell really quick, and it was like, oh, there's something here, Just kept making videos, kept making content online, kept selling out pots really quick, and then, COVID kind of happened, and that was around the same time that I was kind of looking for someone to help, because I like I said in the last podcast, I've always kind of had somebody helping me in here. I was going to put up a job posting, and Kai actually messaged me, I think, the same day I was about to post the job. He was like, hey, I'm in Buffalo. I'm a ceramics archer. I don't know if you're ever looking for somebody to help. So I think I sent you the job posting, and then I never sent it to anybody else. And that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But so it was hard. I mean, not hard, but it was kind of an opposite thought process for me to have an employee in here. But I don't know, if your business isn't growing, then it's dying. And the only way to grow is to be able to do more work than just yourself, And so kind of coming to grips with that a little bit was kind of and just you were so good, and it was Like, well, I want to make this work for Kai. If this is a job that he wants, then, I want to make it work for you. So that's where kind of flip the mindset of like having an employee is okay. But like I didn't, like obviously there were times in the business that it's like we could have hired more people, but sometimes it's hard to gauge when the right time is for expanding your payroll, because anytime you're adding in those expenses, then it just creates more of a risky situation.
Yeah, I think we both learned you got to be very conservative when you're thinking about scaling up.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, we've seen, if you follow people online like Joel Cherico or Hammerly, like you've seen them go through periods where they've had employees and they've been growing to match their level of production that they want. And both of them had to pull back, right? Cherico had like 3-4 employees at one point, and now he doesn't have any. And Hammerly had a couple more than he does now, and now he has just, him and his brother and another one, I think. So not to tell their story for them, but I think slow to hire
Right.
helps make sure, and we just are going through that right now. We posted on Indeed and another place about hiring a content creator, because we're not creating enough content to really keep up with what would be ideal, I think. Like every day we do interesting stuff in here. Most of it doesn't ever get filmed or put up anywhere, you know?
Yeah, it's just not our foresight to think about that. We're thinking about the pots first, and then there's also just so much time in a week to actually make the amount of pots we want, but then also have the time to do the social media stuff, which...
Right. And the way I see the social media person, it would be that they would actually pay for themselves, right? Like they would be able to create enough content that would hopefully generate enough sales, and that they would be able to make YouTube videos that generate ad revenue. So yeah, that's what we're going through at Mocha Monkey right now. We hired a roaster to help roast, and I figured out that roasting our own beans would save us about $50,000 a year, right? So that opens up some money where, like, if we roast our own beans, we can pay somebody to roast. But then it's just like a net even game. But the roasting opens up all these future possibilities.
Right.
Selling beans online, which will come soon. Getting into grocery stores, whatever. Just all the different things you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, like that one, there's for sure you can see what the actual opportunities are there before you actually hired the person, whereas
right, like here,
social media is
exactly.
a little different. You can't really tell for sure until you actually do it. So that's why it's a little hard to make that decision right away, and then you don't want to go back and fire somebody who...
Well, like creating an online course has been something that's just been on a list for like 2 years. It's like if we created this course of like how to make and sell pots, or how to make a business out of your art, whatever, like things that probably come pretty intuitively to me and you, if we could just like
put it together,
share that, put it together and sell it, it could be massive. But there's not enough time in the day or week.
Yeah.
So what are we at right now? We're at 12 minutes after I went and got clay.
Nice.
So what do you think? We can keep going, but we might lose batteries.
Might as well just keep rolling until...
Yeah, if you guys are watching this or seeing this, send us a message and like what other questions you have, because this could be like a once a month podcast, honestly, to talk about business.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, is there anything else between the Mocha and your pottery business that you like to talk about? Otherwise,
you want to talk about your business? You're kind of like just starting out. Like, what is someone?
Yeah, it might be interesting to people.
Yeah, if you're just like someone
polar opposite.
Not the polar opposite, but yeah, if you're someone that's at home right now and you make pots or you make something and you're like, how do I get started? Because what's your sales like for the year so far this year?
So right now I'm probably about 15-ish thousand for this year.
So like, what were you at last year?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't even technically start my business last year until August.
Okay.
So not really sure, but way more since I've done all these art shows. Like, once I graduated school, then that freed up a lot of time to actually do sales stuff.
Right.
So doing the art markets, that's been a whole interesting figuring that out. Where like you're mostly online, some here. I do mostly art markets. It's a lot of it is just like getting your name out there, getting like eyeballs on your stuff, right?
Right.
So that's kind of been the goal of mine with this last year is just getting my stuff out there. And yeah, just trying to make it work. It's not super streamlined because it's not a giant business, but it does the job for right now. Just making pots in my garage and then glazing them here and firing them here and then going and selling them at different spots. And I mean, there's like other things too, like I'll take a lot of commissioned orders, like people that want custom things, like that's a thing that I do. Other things that help supplement that income for the business.
Yeah.
Like not just selling pots, but maybe some like teaching or doing stuff with other like products or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think one thing that I think is super important when you are thinking about starting a business or you want to start a business or you have something is like do it in a way that is that you like ease into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sure. Hammerly talks about that a lot, about how he worked for he had a pretty profitable, like semi-large business before he quit his full-time job and went all in on the pottery. And so it's just like for you, like maybe you'll never have like your pottery business be the only thing you do, and that's okay too. Mm-hmm. But it's like for you to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go all in on my pottery business. That would be difficult,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe just not even feasible.
Yeah, I mean that's why like I literally only started it my technically business last year. So like I didn't rush into it where I could have made it 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Like I just did it for a little bit, saw how it went, if I really liked it or not, like the business aspect rather than just making stuff and giving it to friends and family. Like it can be a hobby,
right,
or it can be a business too, but
right.
I kind of like the business aspect of it.
Well, and you just kind of start, like if if you work a full-time job but you like this other thing on the side, then start it as like a little bit of a side hustle thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the goal is just like working here and then building up my business on the side. Like that's exactly what it is. There's like so much stuff to learn too. Like when you get in like if you're haven't been in a business, like I've learned from here and just on my own research, like there's so much stuff you got to learn too. Like
you're talking about like forming an LLC or
everything. Yeah, doing all your books, like taxes, like there's a lot to it. So like it is kind of probably daunting for a lot of people if they're not fully into it. So like I would recommend just starting as like a hobby.
Right.
And then if you're really serious about it, then go all in.
Right. Like you got to be probably doing at least, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a year before it's worth it to really jump in and create your own LLC, learn about, how to report. I mean, you can do all that stuff in a way, you got to report sales tax even if you're not like technically an LLC yet. You do it as a sole proprietor. But then once you convert to an LLC, then that just is like the next level, but there's all expense that comes with that.
Right.
So yeah, it is, and I've been lucky and fortunate enough that from the get-go of my career, I've had to have an accountant, right? And so anything that I need to know or ask him about, like I just ask my accountant those things, and that's a lot of how I've learned. Like for you, like you've either asked me questions or you look it up online.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of research. Like having an accountant would be super nice, but obviously it doesn't make sense for this small of a business. So it's a lot just on you. Like you're everything. You're the business.
Right.
Like, so it can be stressful, but I mean, if you really want to do it, you might as well.
Well, and the structure is something that I think would maybe be interesting to a few people. Like right when I started the pottery business, I had my Mocha Monkey LLC, and we were selling pots there. So I ran everything underneath the operating company of Mocha Monkey, right? So it's an LLC that runs the company because an LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. And that means that if somebody trips and falls at Mocha Monkey and wants to sue me, they can't go after my personal assets. Like, I own a house here. if someone is going to sue Mocha Monkey, so it's limited liability. So you want to like have these different areas that you operate in. And so then when you have a business, you operate there, you have your income, you have your expenses, you have your net profit, and everything is like kind of in this little silo, right? And that's what an LLC is. It's like silos these assets, silos your income, and then from there, you can do different things. So when the YouTube channel started to take off, what really happened was we built a studio, and the Mocha Monkey operating company, the insurance company that we had, would not insure this building, right?
Yep.
And so I went back because I wanted to keep, I kind of wanted to keep it all under one umbrella so that we could pay you through Mocha Monkey's payroll. Like I didn't have to have a separate payroll, and I didn't have to have a separate tax ID number, and all, anytime you have something you just add expense, that's somewhat unnecessary.
Right.
But eventually we had to, which I am eventually happy I did, separate them into two different LLCs.
Right.
So that Mocha Monkey has its own operating company that functions separately, and then now the pottery business has its own LLC that also functions separately, has its own bank account, its own credit card, its own payroll, pays its own sales tax, which I think is really nice now because
For sure.
the Mocha Monkey is more of a sellable business where someday if I wanted to sell it, I could. And then now this business in here, this LLC in here, which is Lake Wave LLC, that's kind of like the business I'll probably just have forever,
Right.
There's so many benefits to having an LLC, right? Like tax benefits. And they're all, from we're getting kind of in the weeds with the taxes and stuff, but they're all flow through entities. So you basically keep your profit and loss statement, and then at the end of the year, you take what profits or losses you had on the business, and then you apply it to your personal tax return, right? Anyway, it's just, I'm trying to be as informational as possible.
Yeah, but I feel like that's such important information for people because it's not like super easy to learn. Like I went through months and months of just like researching, and it's just like it's not easy to do.
Right.
Like that's why it is nice having an accountant, but
right, but even when you have an accountant, you still are kind of like, you got to kind of know it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
And then even like my accountant, like, I was the one that had to make the decision. I had to find out from the insurance company that they wouldn't cover it unless we had a separate LLC. Be like, are you sure? Like, should I switch insurance companies? So then I had to go to my accountant and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Like, we're going to put the pottery business in its own LLC. And it's so simple. Like, the pottery business is so simple compared to Mocha Monkey. Because it has basically like, every month there's like 7 pieces of income, right? It's like the Etsy shop. Mocha Monkey pays the LLC now for the pots that are sold there. Patreon, it's like 6 things. And then the expenses are really simple too. It's like payroll and a few other little things.
Right.
So it's like such an easy business compared to Mocha Monkey. But for somebody just starting out, it probably seems really complicated.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's, you just got to ease into it. Don't like rush into it unless you're fully invested. Otherwise, it's just going to be a headache that you don't need to have happen. That's what I would
For sure.
say.
I mean, basically, if you want to start a business, you just got to do it.
Do it.
Start small.
Small, and just you got to learn so much along the way.
Just learn a little bit every day, every month, just get a little bit better, and then eventually you'll look back and be like, oh, that wasn't so hard, and now look at, I'm doing $80,000 a year in business or whatever. And then you can start to think about, okay, is this something I want to go full time? Do I want to hire an employee? All that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a good stopping point.
Let's call it.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought that was a good one.
All right. Cheers. Thanks for listening. See you guys in the next one.
See ya.